Out of their fortresses they came with golden ballistae that walked, and mighty atronachs, and things that spat flame, and things that made killing songs. Their king was Dumak Dwarf Orc, but their high priest was Kagrenak the Blighter. Under mountains and over them the war with the Dwemer was raged. Dwemer High Priest Kagrenak then revealed that which he had built in the image of Vivek. It was a walking star, which burnt the armies of the Triune and destroyed the heartland of Veloth, creating the Inner Sea. The walking star was destroyed in the manner of truth by a great hammering. When the soul of this Dwemer could walk no more, they were removed from this world. Dumak Dwarf King ruled the Dwemer for centuries, achieving feats once considered inconceivable, like uniting the Dwemer with the Kaimer and driving the tenacious Nord hordes out of Resdayn. But despite this, it was Dumak's chief tonal architect who drew the most attention. His pioneering pursuits in arcane philosophy, magecrafting, and mythopoeic forces were astounding, even to a race known for their industriousness and technological prowess. With the power of tonal architecture at their disposal, the Dwemer could excavate great caverns with nothing more than harmonic fluctuations. Sound was the greatest tool of the Dwemer, and Kagrenak was their composer. With his orchestra of crafters, smiths, and architects, Kagrenak's catalogue knew no limits. Tonal architecture was the key to unlocking advancements in mining, medicine, construction, even psychology and philosophy. But his magnum opus, his crowning symphony, greater than any Centurion or Colossus, would manifest in 3 parts. Kagrenak forged 3 enchanted artifacts, unrivaled in their magnificence and potential. In the right hands, these tools could create gods. What's up guys, it's Scott here and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. With the exception of Yagrum Bagan, deep within the caverns of the Corpusarium, no dwarves exist in Tamriel, yet they remain arguably the most fascinating of all the races, man, mer or beast. We've discussed them in great detail before on the channel, and if you'd like to learn everything about them, check out the video linked in the description. But today we're going to focus our lenses on one particular dwarf, his astronomical ambitions and the tools he planned to use to immortalize his race, solidifying their position as the most brilliant race to ever live. They've been gone for millennia, yet no race has come close to their achievements. Unfortunately for the Dwemer, their brilliance will forever be written about in the past tense, as this race of subterranean miners would in turn be undermined by the towering might of their hubris. For centuries, the Dwemer had been advancing technology and creating underground cities. They warred with their neighbours periodically, but it was one discovery that would draw a line in the ash between the Dwemer and their Kaimer allies. And that was the uncovering of a great and magical stone deep inside the heart of Red Mountain. For some time, the Kaimer had been concerned by Dwemer society. A dwarf would probably claim that this is just envy, as no race in Tamriel could rival their technological growth. But the reality is, there is a fundamental difference between the attitude of the Dwemer and the attitude of every other race. We talk a lot about the various religious pantheons in Tamriel on the channel, and that's because the gods are fundamental to understanding the cultures of many of the races. Which gods each race chooses to worship is arguably the biggest contributor to the race's values, morals, and even things like architecture in some cases. The Kaimer became such a unique race when compared to their Aldmeri ancestors for this exact reason. The good Daedra, Mephala, Azura, and Boethia taught them everything from politics to war, to how to build their homes. The Dwemer, however, they cared not for the gods, any gods. Their automatons are a perfect embodiment of this attitude. They learn to create living things from metal and steam and magic. Their ability to empower lifeless fabrics into active beings, denying the organic power of the gods while at the same time transcending the mortal systems of life, justified their atheist attitudes. To their neighbours, this was blasphemy and arrogance in the most dangerous form. This difference between the Dwemer and the other races would be the catalyst for all that follows. So this magical stone was the heart of the god Lorkhan, the deity responsible for the creation of the mortal realm. Should a Nord or Kaimer encounter this beating relic, they would be humbled by it, likely afraid to meddle with such forces. But the Dwemer? Well, the Dwemer don't place the gods on such a high pedestal, and where many would see a sacred artifact, Kagrenak saw an opportunity. Long before, in the Dawn Era, the elven champion Trinimac had ripped Lorkhan's heart free, and the god Auriel had fastened it to his bow, firing it in a grand crimson arc over Tamriel, and where the heart landed, Red Mountain sprang up, and magma would flow through the volcanic rock like divine blood. Kagrenac saw the potential of Lorkhan's still beating heart and wondered, could it be used as the immortal engine for a new god? Built by his tonal architects with the precise specifications. Imagine the power the Dwemer would possess with a god created for their exclusive benefit. Schematics were drawn and Kagrenac got to crafting his tools, and the vessel for Lorkhan's heart to power. This project would be called the Anumidium, and remarkably, Kagrenac's complete explanation of his theories has been preserved to the modern day, though the text remains written in Duomeris, and the only living soul capable of translating it, Yaegrim Bagan, refused to do so, as he believed Kagrenac's theories should die along with him. However, Bagan had the benefit of hindsight when saying this, and at the time of Kagrenac revealing his plans to his esteemed associates, he received a great deal of support and praise. He inspired so much confidence and admiration from many of his subordinates, in fact, that he was essentially a religious leader to the Dwemer intelligentsia, hence one of his many titles, High Priest. Despite his popularity, he was not without critics. Kagrenac was quick to emphasize the benefits of his schemes and the possibilities they presented, but his critics were not convinced and believed that an attempt to apply his theories posed risks which were unjustifiable, noting the unpredictable side effects of his formulae and the potential for catastrophic error. But this is Kagrenac we're talking about, the chief tonal architect of the Dwemer, a race rapidly outgrowing any mortal civilization in history, unrivaled even to this day. He was not going to be dissuaded and would work in secret if necessary. The Numidium would be the skeleton of Kagrenac's brass god, the heart of Lorkhan, the engine. But what of the tools? But what about the tools? Well, the heart could not be activated without all three of these tools. Without one of them, the consequences would be fatal at best, and catastrophic to the entire realm at worst. This was the heart of the god responsible for creating the mortal plane of existence after all. The first tool is a gauntlet named Wraithguard. In order to prevent the certain death of the tool's wielder, Wraithguard was to be worn. Only then could the wielder tap the heart's power safely. Safely being a rather subjective term, reliant upon trusting Kagrenac's calculations. So Wraithguard would supposedly ensure that the wearer is protected from the fatally destructive power of the other tools. Next comes Sunder, the hammer. This tool would be crucial for channeling the heart's power. It is said that Sunder would strike the heart and produce the exact volume and quality of power needed from it. Finally, we have Keening, the final tool. This blade would flay and focus the power emitted by the heart, transferring it into usable, quantifiable energy for the Anumidium. With all three of these tools used in tandem and a dwarf of Kagrenac's expertise wielding them, the plan was set in motion to bring the power of the gods to the Dwemer race's arsenal. Kagrenac was convinced by his theories. He was certain his plans would succeed. Unfortunately, not everyone shared his confidence, so he worked on realizing his ambitions in private, without the unanimous support of either his people or the Kaimer, a race the Dwemer were in an alliance with. It's even said that King Dumac knew nothing of Kagrenac's project and denied the existence of the project to Indoril Nerevar. The Kaimer considered this as a slight from the Dwemer ruler, as they knew of Kagrenac's designs thanks to Vorin Dagoth. Unsurprisingly, this project of Kagrenac's crossed the line. The Kaimer venerated the gods, even if they placed the good Daedra above all others, and they knew that allowing Kagrenac to proceed unchecked could be devastating to all mortal life in Mundus. The dwarves had flown too close to the sun, and after a heated argument between the former friends, Dumac Dwarf King and Indoril Nerevar, the War of the First Council commenced. This war culminated in the bloody Battle of Red Mountain, an all-out conflict to thwart the profane usurpation being carried out by the Dwemer. What happened next, deep within the bowels of Red Mountain, in the Heart Chamber, is shrouded in mystery and misinformation. Sources are conflicting, but it seems Kagrenac was forced into action by the bloody battle taking place outside. The war could have gone either way, and Kagrenac, staring intently at the beating heart of Lorkhan with his tools in hand, knew he had the ability to turn the tide of battle. So much preparation had led to this moment, and if successful, the Dwemer would be victorious. Vivek took a first-hand account of the following events. Apparently, Apparently, Nerevar and Dumak duelled, and both fell from their wounds. This source is considered biased for many reasons, as some would claim Vivec had good cause to cover up the truth of Nerevar's death, but he had no reason to lie about Dumak's fate. Whatever the truth may be, Dumak fell, and knowing of his king's death, Kagranak acted out of desperation. He donned Wraithguard, he took Sunder and Keening in his hands, and he used them on the heart. In his account, Vivec says, "With Dumak fallen and threatened by Dagoth and others, Kagranak turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Kagranak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace, but Kagranak's tools remained, and Dagoth seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, 'That fool Kagranak has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands.' Kagranak's grand plan failed, and the punishment for his ambition and his heresy was severe. His whole race paid dearly for his failure. Though the tools did not vanish, they clattered to the floor before the heart, which continued to beat as though oblivious to the sudden extinction of an entire race. In possession of Kagranak's tools, the Kai'Ma made a solemn oath to Azura that they would not follow in the Dwemer's footsteps. They would never use the tools. Vivec's account continues to say, "For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time, in secret, Sotha must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries. And at last, he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace, with justice and honor for nobles, and health and prosperity for the commoners, with the tribunal as immortal patrons and guides, and dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagranak's tools. Where Kagranak had failed, the tribunal, Almalexia, Sotha and Vivec, Almzavi, became living gods." And there you have it, guys, the tale of Kagranak and his tools that could be used to become a god. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Do give it a like if you enjoyed. My name is Scott from Fudge Muppet, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again very soon.